What up, family? We have a special show for you right now. The Eagles, they are your Super Bowl 59 champions. So today, we look back and look ahead. It's the Facility Best of Football show. When I think about how monumental this Eagles win was, I think about three things in particular. Number one, you got to start talking about Jalen Hurts like a legitimate great of the generation. Think about this for a moment at home. He has a Super Bowl MVP. He has an All-Pro. The quarterbacks that have done that since 2000, Peyton Manning, Hall of Famer, Drew Brees, Hall of Famer, Tom Brady, Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Famer, Patrick Mahomes, Hall of Famer. You have to start talking about Jalen Hurts like beginning to meet the Hall of Fame criteria that he likely will end up in a gold jacket. Ooh. That's number one. Number two, Sirianni. We got to start talking about him like Sean McVay.
Yup.
2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win. Sean McVay, Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win. Let's talk about his tree. He about to have 3 assistant coaches as head coaches. Yep. By the time this show concludes, Kellen Moore will likely be announced as the next head coach of the New Orleans Saints, plus Jonathan Gannon, plus Shane Steichen. So you got to talk about Jalen Hurts like meeting the criteria to become a Hall of Famer. You got to talk about Sirianni like meeting the criteria to become a boy genius, which we talked about McVay. And then lastly, the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the best franchises in football. Only 3 franchises since the turn of the century have won multiple Super Bowls with different quarterback coaching combinations. The Bucks, Brad Johnson, Brady. The Ravens, Dilfer, Flacco. And the Eagles, Foles, and now Jalen Hurts plus Sirianni. You have to talk about the Eagles like one of the greatest franchises. You got to talk about Sirianni like one of the greatest coaches. And you got to talk about Hurts like one of the greatest quarterbacks. This win was as monumental as there are in all of sports. Shout out to the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
It sounds like you're being hyperbolic when you say all that stuff, but then when you really just like dive deep and like actually accept it for what it is and for what you're saying, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right? Like you talk about Jalen Hurts, for all the stuff that like sometimes that we have up here, like, hey, he's not letting the ball go, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. The dude beat the best player in the world head-to-head, and it wasn't even close. He went head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes. The dude has 7 total touchdowns in 2 Super Bowl games. 7 total touchdowns in 2 Super Bowl games and that 1 interception we saw last night. So that's amazing. And then Nick Sirianni, what he's doing, and I was going to bring that up too, his tree is growing. And for all that we want to say about Nick, hey, you're a CEO-type coach. You've made some decisions early in the year that we weren't riding with. You shave your head. You win 16 of their next 17 games. And quite honestly, the game you lost is when Jalen Hurts got knocked out of the game. So you are absolutely balling. You trusted your offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. You trusted your defensive coordinator, Vic Fangio. You didn't hold the team back. In fact, from a leadership standpoint, you propelled them forward. So you got to give credit to all that. And then just like seeing the Eagles beat a team that all 3 of us up here on Bourbon Street on Thursday, right, or Friday, we said that if the Chiefs win, they will be the best team of all time. And they beat them down from start to finish. It wasn't even a close game. 40-22 doesn't even say the story of the game.
Right.
Like, they got 2 last-minute I mean, it was a butt-whooping from start to finish.
Hey, real quick, hey, thank you, Chase. Giving my quarterback some love.
You got to give credit where credit's due, man.
And thank you for finally giving Nick Sirianni some credit. Appreciate that, brother. Wow.
No, this was huge, man. This was huge for the Philadelphia Eagles, and it was pure dominance.
Yes.
And I felt like the Kansas City Chiefs took this football field for the first time in a very long time, not knowing what was on the other side. I truly do.
That's good.
I think they took the football field thinking like, man, hey, the Eagles done did this to everybody else, not us. I felt like they had that mindset. And they came out there and they realized early and often that this is not a game and it is real. The Eagles were the most dominant football team all year long. I'm not going to say best because it went up and down with a bunch of different teams. But the most dominant football team all year long was the Philadelphia Eagles in all 3 phases. And they dominated that football game yesterday in all 3 phases. The Kansas City Chiefs came out there on defense. They said, hey, man, we are going to make sure Saquon Barkley don't ruin this game.
Yep.
And put the ball into the quarterback's hands. And the quarterback did what we've been asking him to do all year long. Just throw to your one-on-one targets and let them go make plays. A.J. Brown made plays for him. Smitty made plays for him. He made plays with his legs, played a complete game. And then defense. I have never seen a team coached under Andy Reid and quarterbacked by Patrick Mahomes look like that on offense.
Yep.
Zero answers for the play calling.
Yeah.
And then the quarterback. That's the worst I've seen Patrick Mahomes look ever since he's been playing in the National Football League. For 7 years, I've never seen Patrick Mahomes look like that. Was the Eagles' defensive line on him? Yes, but it was plenty of times where the Eagles' defensive line wasn't on him, and he was rattled, stepping up in the pocket when you don't got to step up, escaping too early when you do not got to get outside the pocket. They had no answers.
No answer.
Jalen Hurts, he experienced amazing just yesterday. 2 touchdown passes, ran for another Super Bowl record, 72 rushing yards by a quarterback. And Hurts was named Super Bowl MVP. Take a listen to Nick Sirianni on the big game.
Jalen's special. And, you know, the criticism, it just blows my mind because I think he's so special and won so many games.
It's been a fun ride, and I've embraced every step. I took great pride in never backing down from a challenge. Always turning my negatives into positives, turning my weaknesses and making them my strengths. And it's taken great effort and determination to evolve my game over time and just continue to grow and improve.
MVP. You got to put that ahead of Jalen Hurts' name from here on out. Shady, what's the Super Bowl MVP mean for Jalen Hurts?
Man, I think we got to start looking at this quarterback position a little differently now.
All right.
Everybody wants to just go out there and get the guy that has the best stats or he looks the best way, he throws the ball and all that, right? Because like I said, a lot of people, Justin Herbert's in the same draft class. And if you ask people about Justin Herbert, they got a million things to say how great about him, right? Yeah. You ask them about Jalen Hurts, they're going to say a certain amount of things. Yeah. But the biggest thing to say something about Jalen Hurts is the dog, the winning mentality, the heart. Even the team is so good, everybody talks about they are. Every quarterback can go out there and win for them, like he does. And it's like, okay, hey, we're gonna beat the Eagles, right? We're gonna stop Saquon Barkley, right? We'll do snap, we're gonna double team A.J. Brown, and we still gonna win? Yes. Number one, save the day. Even though defense did a lot of the hard work, Jalen Hurts answered when we called on him. I just think the narrative changes now. Now, when we talk about great quarterbacks, right, we're going to leave them stats alone because we're starting to see that stats, right, are great and all that, but they don't equal wins.
Correct.
They don't equal Super Bowls. They don't equal Super Bowl champ. They don't equal that.
Yeah.
And Jalen Hurts is a prime example of that. That only thing that matters is the main thing, keep it the main thing, and that's winning games, get to the playoffs, win your division, and win a Super Bowl. Everything I just said, he just
1,000%. Whenever going forward, anybody asks you how good is Jalen Hurts, the response can only be he's good enough. Because if he's good enough to win a Super Bowl, he's good enough. 67 quarterbacks have thrown passes since Patrick Mahomes was drafted. There have been 1,521 starts by different quarterbacks since Patrick Mahomes has been drafted. But only Jalen Hurts has won the Super Bowl of quarterbacks drafted after Patrick Mahomes. How good is Jalen Hurts? Yeah, he's good enough. If you're good enough to win a Super Bowl MVP, how good is he? Yeah, he's good enough. His resume has already met the Hall of Fame standard. An all-pro, which means he's one of the top 2 quarterbacks, one of the top 2 at his position, at least for a season. A Super Bowl MVP, which means at the biggest stage, he was the best player in front of 120 million people. You know how hard that is to do. If you missed the top of the show, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. Those are the only players in the National Football League with an All-Pro and a Super Bowl MVP since the turn of the century. Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. How good is Jalen Hurts? He's good enough.
Yeah, I feel like you just got to start putting respect on his name, right? Like whenever he's talked about, even if we don't love the way it looks, it always seems to get done. I mean, 77% completion percentage, 221 passing yards, 72 rushing yards. The 72 rushing yards beat his own record for most rushing yards in history of a Super Bowl game. And it was doing it off scrambles. It wasn't necessarily these called quarterback runs. So Kellen Moore, in the biggest game of the year, trusted him to make plays. There have been 59 Super Bowls. Only 35 quarterbacks have won Super Bowls, and only 5 quarterbacks have been to 2 Super Bowls before they're 26. And one of those guys is Jalen Hurts. But what I love about him is how he does it. We got some film right here to show you. He can do it all different ways. He can do a pocket passer. He can be a scrambler. He can be a play action passer. And here's the first play right here. It's a play action. It's a pocket pass. You're going to see Jahan Dotson up top. They are blitzing. And when they blitz, you take not the easy completion. You want the go route up top. Look at Saquon right here, Shady. Look at this block. Okay, gives him a very clean pocket. The blitz pickup was great all night for the Eagles. And when you get a pocket like this, we know one thing. He can deliver the ball accurately down the football field. It's a perfect throw. Wish he would have got in right there, but he was down.